Uh, This trash over
Mm-hmm.
here. Capital One trash.
Mm-hmm.
Extraordinary trash.
Hello, hello. Nobody has their camera on.
Going on.
Oh, goodness. There's a reason why I don't want my camera on.
You're beautiful, honey.
I'm tired. You gotta turn on your
Oh, yeah?
microphone.
I was eating. Sorry, that's why I didn't have my camera on.
Oh my gosh. I want to be laying in bed.
Well, I haven't felt the greatest, so that's why I'm laying in bed.
I'm like, it's dark and you're laid down and I'm like, good Lord, that is calling my name.
Yep.
Hello, hello, everybody. I know we'll just give it like a minute before we kick off. Hi, Ashley.
Where's Joe?
Unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi. Were you guys listening to the live and Passion with Purpose?
No, I didn't get on. Is it good?
Well, I literally just walked in the door. I was catching the tail end. Lacey Dale was sharing Crossland's story.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then I think there was like 200 people watching, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, well, the beautiful thing about the Passion with Purpose is that hopefully, if I'm thinking of it correctly, it'll remain up for anybody, for people to be able to go back and just watch at their leisure, which is going to be extremely powerful.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay, well, will you make sure that you watch that? Guys, I don't want to keep you guys up all night, specifically just because I'm exhausted and Mama wants to go to bed early. I don't know why I'm so, yeah. I was hoping to go to the gym after, and I'm like, I don't know if that's going to happen because I'm exhausted. Hey, let's talk about how the week has gone. First of all, Joe's not on here, but I'm going to give a shout out to Joe for Jake and Joe for locking in directors. Did that happen today or did it happen on Sunday?
It happened last week. Yes.
Okay. It's just the first
Yes.
time seeing it.
Yeah. Well, we kind of let it slip through the deals. That was my bad. So I was like, oh,
It's not your fault. Reports
Yeah,
are
super
little
hard to
difficult read for
read.
that type of stuff.
Yeah, as far as like rank advancements and whatnot, they're not real. It's not real easy to find. That's for sure.
I will say, if we do miss it, please just let us know because we're not doing it out of just not simply doing it. Everybody's building so fast and we don't want to miss you. We want you,
Yeah.
we want to praise you because everybody's doing a good job.
Yep.
Oh, well, Ashley, we gotta praise you because we didn't get Tribe Talk last week. So congratulations, Ashley, for hitting senior presidential director.
Whoop, whoop.
Hey.
Thank you.
So I specifically wanted to talk about the events. And the reason I want to talk about the events, I've got Kristen and she'll be able to share her take. I've got Lois in here, she'll be able to share as well. And then anybody who was had the opportunity to plug in last week. Last week was a crazy week for myself. I go from not attending or not having any events to attend to 3 events in 1 week, and they were all incredible. We started, I took a road trip up to Kansas, and I think there was like 50 to 60 people in the room. I was so proud of the group to gather everybody. And when I say that, I don't know that there's anything more impactful than than the heartbeat of the room whenever we get together and we're able to share LifeWave, because the testimonials are unbelievable. Everybody is so excited, so happy, and there's, I don't know, Ashley, would you agree? But whenever you're in the room, people are just excited. Like it feels the energy and the excitement is tangible. So would you agree with that comment?
Absolutely. I mean, throughout the whole night, it was amazing. But throughout the whole night, you can you can feel everybody's heart, and the ladies that spoke, you brought the heat. Like, I bet everybody in that whole room was had tears at one point in time in the whole meeting. Like, it was good. And I'm gonna say that I'm pretty for sure that if they weren't patching when they came to that party, they were patching by the time they left.
Yeah, yeah, I think 100%. And how could you not? You literally cannot deny the power of the patch when you're sitting there and you have these heartfelt testimonials. And the reality is nobody is exaggerating what they're experiencing, so and people are emotional when they share, because it is, I mean, it's life-changing impact that this is making, not only for yourself or ourselves, but for the people that we have the opportunity to share with. So the butterfly effect is, I think, one of the most beautiful things that there's ever been. um let's see, Lois, I'm gonna ask you to share. I'm gonna give a shout out to Lois for driving from Louisiana to Houston. And what was your takeaway, Lois? First of all, Lois, you are such a cute, tiny little thing. Oh my goodness gracious! I
Oh gosh.
neck.
Like I told you, and I'm still having trouble with my timing. All of a sudden, all my other work has come at the same time. But I'm not complaining. But it was very exciting. And the drive there was, of course, it takes a long time from New Orleans area to Houston, but it's so worth it. And I knew it. I was going no matter what. And it was great. Meeting all of y'all was important to me because just seeing everybody. I mean, and we had Steve and Gina and Carrie and Rick and everybody and Danny, and I mean everybody, and everybody is just so nice and genuine, and that's what comes across, which is wonderful to be able to know what and who you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the testimonies were great. It that was not around the corner from me, but there was no way when all of a sudden it was Houston. It was like, it wasn't Kansas, it wasn't Orlando. It's just like I just got in the car, I came by myself, and people say, well, you went by yourself? Of course I went by myself. But and all of the testimonies, and just the nobody left the room. And it was longer than normal, and everybody was told we're still going to be here, and nobody was going to leave.
Yeah.
Because there was just so much great information coming, and there's always takeaways, always. And you just have to go as many as you can go to, just to even know the feel of what we've got our hands on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that there is a shift happening where the pulse is like just beating, so hard, and people are hungry. I think there was a time where, maybe in-person meetings or events had
Mhm.
kind of, dwindled, and
Yes.
across the board, right? The industry.
Yeah.
And, I think there's something so tangible right now with, people wanting to be in the room with each other, people wanting to, they're hungry, and I love that you pointed out nobody left the room. And it was, at least
Packed.
2.5 hours long. It was a packed room. I got to meet Kristen for the first time, and y'all, she was a brand partner that just enrolled that week and decided to show up like 3 days later. So Kristen, if you want to unmute yourself and just kind of give your takeaway being in the room in Houston.
That room was awesome. It was empowering for me, and that's what I've told everybody since that night, is there was so much hope in that room, but it was proven hope, because that was all people who were experiencing the patch already and the results of it, and they were hopeful for even more and for how many people they were going to share it with. So it was a different kind of hope. It wasn't just that, I guess, like hippie style hope, if that, for lack of a better term. It was really nice. And I don't do well in crowds in like a room like that. So I sat in the back, on the very back wall. And I had a great view of everything and everybody's reactions and the movements going on. And there was almost silence aside from, all the hype that was happening on this stage. Everybody was just so zoned in.
Yeah.
It was a really great thing to see. Like, so much so I went overboard on Saturday. So I had to reel that back in on Sunday. So it was nice.
Yeah. So that's funny that you say that, because, the room was overflowing, right? So we had the opportunity to sit facing the audience. And I agree, normally I'm facing the stage. I was facing the audience and everybody was leaned in. I didn't see anybody on their phones, distracted or whatever. And man, that was the first time that I've, truly noticed that, how attentive the entire room was. And then of course, Dallas, I don't think anybody was in Dallas that's on here tonight, but that was just, I think there was 400 people in the room. We overflowed the room there too, and it was incredibly powerful. The reason I want to talk about this is because there's upcoming events, you guys. And then I also want to talk about opening up like your living rooms. So I want to have an open floor discussion for those of you on tonight and then those who catch the replay. But a couple of events that I want to point out. This weekend, this Saturday, there's an event in Oklahoma, Oklahoma City. And then next week, there is an event in Arizona. I know that we have some team members going to plug in out there. And then the Canada tour has kicked off. And so, and that is, Erica, I know that you had asked, is it for prospects and brand partners? It's for all. It's a great place to take your prospects. And then as for brand partners, it's a great place to go get plugged in and learn, from corporate. So yes, it is going to be amazing. And the only reason they ask for registration is probably just to gauge the room. And of course, all these events are free. Well, some of these hosted events, like, you might see like a $5 fee for brand partners and then guest free. When I used to do these events, we were the ones who paid for everything, right? I've never asked anybody to contribute, but here's the reality. I think it means something special whenever you have a little bit of skin in the game. And $5 is not going to break anybody's bank, but I was happy to give the $5 because you guys, those things, they're expensive to put on, renting these hotels. And I also just think that it's a business investment, right? I would never, what I'm going to say about that is I would never want any brand partner to think, well, I don't want to pay the $5 because you don't think you're going to get $5 worth out of it. You guys, I mean, to be
Multi-million
in the
dollar
room with Steve and Gina Merritt, I mean, their energy is off the charts. You know, sometimes it can come across maybe on a Zoom as like boom in your face, and you know, when they do the Saturday morning trainings or the Zooms or whatever, because you're just like, is this like real? Like, you know, maybe you would think like they're putting on a show type deal. No, their energy is like that all the time. And so whenever you're in the room with that energy, it's just so, I mean, it's infectious, right? So what I want to encourage you is, if you have people that you know, I know that there was an event coming up in Orlando, and another, I think maybe Palm Springs,
in Orlando.
out in Florida. If you have contacts in this area, I want to make sure that you are reaching out and say, you've got to get in the room. It might feel awkward. Trust me, just say that a friend invited you. You've got to go see this for yourself. It would do them good, number one, to see it like that, but number two, obviously it's going to be a business building activity. We're also going to be, Ashley and I are going to be back up in Kansas next week. I think it's next Wednesday, right, Ashley? The 9th, whatever
Yes,
that
the
is.
9th.
Okay,
We're
so
going on tour, remember?
we are going to be going on tour. So I guess the tour is starting in Kansas. But what I wanted to talk about, and I'm also going to be going back to Kansas in May. I've already got that on the calendar. I want to talk about the power of gatherings. I love the Zooms. I love Tuesday night tribe talks. But here's the reality, like we can, and if I'm not calling anybody out, but I'm just saying what it is, because I know I'm guilty. When I'm plugging into, say, another Zoom or whatever, where I'm not talking, I can easily be like looking at my phone and doing all the things, and you get distracted, right? And you're kind of like squirrel. When you are in person, it's a whole nother feel. It's a whole nother mindset, right? And that mindset can simply start in a living room. You do, and as a matter of fact, I highly encourage them to start in living rooms, because what we have always been taught, how we built a multi-million-dollar business in record time in our first company, was living rooms. Okay, it was living room, living room, living room, living room, and then we would pack out the living rooms, and then we would come together and do a larger event at some type of venue, whether it was a hotel or church or whatever that looks like. So I don't want us to ever think, if something starts small, or that if it's 3 or 4 people, 3 or 4 friends coming to your house, can you do a meeting? Yes, you can, you guys. And maybe you're like, well, I don't really know what to say. Well, stick to the bullet points of what we hear all the time in the beginning of all of the opportunity Zooms. And that's another reason why it's important for you guys to be plugging into those opportunity Zooms, because it's not just, I love hearing the news stories, and I love hearing the just being plugged in, right? But I'm also learning. I'm also listening to word choices. I'm listening to how to explain something, and therefore I'm not going to be intimidated or feel like I can't regurgitate what I've heard 100 times. And so having just a small gathering. I was talking to someone the other day where you could simply gather and then, share a little bit, just a few bullet points of what we know about stem cells, right? By the time we reach age 30, 50% are dormant. By the time we reach 60, 90% are dormant. Here's what you can expect. Within the first few days, 4,000 genes reset. Okay, so all those bullet points that all of us, if you're brand new, you might not know, but most of us have heard several times, right? But then you could play the 5-minute video from Dr. Jen. Okay, and then maybe you would have a few testimonies, or maybe this is where you share your story. And then if, because the power of technology is fantastic, you guys. If we can't get to your living room right now, then you could say, hey, Tori, I'm having some friends over on Wednesday night. Would you be able to zoom in and answer any questions, share your story, and then maybe close out how to get started? And then you were there prepared with golden tickets, So I don't want you to think that, well, if somebody can't come with me to do this, that I can't do something to start building my business on a faster pace, because it's much easier to talk to a room of 3, 4, 5 people than having those individual conversations, right? You're just, again, compressing time. And then they're more likely, once those living rooms are either there's consistency or there's impact made, they're more likely to want to go to the next bigger event, because now they want to see a bigger picture. They want to meet more people that are involved. They want to hear more stories. All right, so these just funnel into one and another. Yeah, okay, that's what you put. I was like, there's my face.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead, Luke.
I was with the company, and that's how we did everybody. When we launched somebody, that we had to make a list of 30, and then we had 2 parties, the wine and wrinkle parties, we called them. And all they did was invite their friends to that party, and they put on a 15-minute video, and they put the skin cream on the people, and that's all they did. And then they'd have one of us call, FaceTime, and close it out, or answer any questions. And so it can be as simple as that, you guys. Doesn't have to be anything hard. Invite over. I'm having a party. You guys can play games. You guys can do some fun things. You could show a shorter Zoom of Joe's or somebody's that you like, and then have somebody call in and close it out, answer any questions, and then carry on and make it light.
Yeah.
We grew, and then we would grow that into the meetings, which the meetings were like $10, I think, for guests, or $5 for guests, and $20 for brand partners. So $5 is nothing. And if you need $5 to come to a meeting, let me know.
Yeah, let me know too. Right, exactly. But we should also, if we're looking at this as a business opportunity for ourselves, you guys, $5 to invest in your business, I mean, obviously it should be worth it, but your guests are free. So load up your car with guests. Lois, I saw you raise your hand. Did you want to share something?
Yeah, I was thinking when you were talking about going from the living rooms to the meeting rooms, and then like on Friday, they were talking about Orlando. And so that was like the next step too. And making it like a must, of course, which it is, but giving everybody the opportunity and having people there to be able to take your order, so your order doesn't wait till the next week or the next whatever. And I signed up. I'm going to Orlando. I don't think I'm gonna drive that time. I've done it before, but anyway. So that's what I wanted to say. That from the living room to the hotel to the convention.
The convention in Orlando, yes. And you guys, I have learned this from the very get-go, is how, you do what successful people do. And, sometimes we think of it as cliche or whatever, but here's the reality. The more you are invested and in the room, the more you're hearing the stories, the more you're getting trained up, the more you're not doing other things that are a waste of your time, but you're investing your time into your preferred future, is going to make an impact. And sometimes we're the ones, I've talked about this before, but we're the ones that we have to recruit. You know, I can tell you already, you know, there's brand partners who are all in, and then, you know, things have happened in life. There, you know, work has now gotten crazy, or maybe something at home has, you know, there's something going on within their four walls, and they've been distracted, and then I hear it over and over again. I need to get plugged back in. I mean, I've been guilty, right? But when you disconnect, you guys, I'm going to speak from experience. For whatever reason, it is 10 times harder. Like, so the very beginning, whenever you're first excited and you're plugging in, you've got all the excitement, all the energy that, you know, you've got hope that this is going to turn into something that's so great. Well, here's the reality. It is, but nobody has ever promised that this is not going to require effort, and it's going to require, you know, stickability and your mindset. You know, I mean, it's hard. Luke was like, he's been run ragged since you know, last week, and just going 100 miles an hour with his inbox that is blown up with all new prospects. And he said, man,
Yay, Luke! I'm so proud of you.
but yeah, and he's like, man, I'm so exhausted. You guys, it does take a lot of mental toughness, okay? Because it's not that none of us, that we don't want to make an impact and we don't want to grow our business. But I think Tatum said it best today. She goes, my social,
Nice.
what did she say?
Tatum, come here.
What? Yeah, come here real quick.
My social battery is on 0.
Oh, pretty much something like that. And we were
Yeah.
like, what?
That's what we always say. Nick's like, I'm on 0. My social battery is done.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that. I don't know if it's because I don't talk to a lot of people, and so like I can only go and talk to somebody. But
No, I was on 0 yesterday, and I was like, whoa. Tori's like, you got 5 more hours before Sunday was over.
But here's the thing. Okay, so all of us, I'm going to just speak to the natural feeling or emotion of, man, I'm tired. Man, I'm going to be honest tonight. Tonight, I was tired. I was like, okay, I missed you guys, but like, I'm ready to crawl in bed. But do you think that I feel tired right now? Like, even just seeing
No.
you guys gives me energy. Prior to seeing you, I was like, I'm not going down hard. This is what it is whenever maybe you feel like, oh, I don't want to go to the meeting. I have so much going on. I've got so much work to do, like outside of LifeWave. I've got the kids to take care of. I've got blah, 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 right? All of those things are still important, and all of those things are valid. But do not let the busyness of life and the busyness of the rat race keep you from at least plugging yourself in. Because I promise you, you're never going to be in a room and leave thinking, well, that was a waste of time. Even if it's just you in the room and you don't have any guests, I promise you, you will never feel that way. So sometimes you need the meeting, you know, more than the meeting needs you. You know, if it's a room full of people and there's all kinds of testimonies, and maybe you don't get to share your testimony that day, well, maybe that wasn't the purpose of that meeting. The purpose of that meeting was to feed you, and you needed the meeting more. You know, because then you leave and you're like, you know what? I've got these people that I have put on the back burner, and I have not picked up the phone. They've remained on my list, and I have not, you know, I've not carried out what I said that I was going to do. And that might just give you enough oomph and enough like grit and purpose. Maybe it reminded you of your purpose to go make those phone calls, right? Instead of putting it off until tomorrow. So I'm just, you know, I cannot express enough if there is a meeting in your area, it especially if you have bigger vision for your business, it's a non-negotiable to be in the room. And maybe if you haven't experienced that yet, you don't understand that, because I mean, I have over a decade, 15 years of experience, and I know the power of a room. And I also know the busyness of life and the distractions and all the things. And sometimes you think those reasons why you just can't make it are good enough reasons. But at the end of the day, if this is a priority for you and your purpose, then it's a non-negotiable to have your rear in a seat. And I'm not preaching to the choir. I want to try to convey how powerful it is.
Yeah.
And then again, like, if you have connections, if y'all have people close to the Oklahoma area or in Oklahoma,
Shoot.
we have leaders there. Heidi is there. Ashley's there. Lacey Dale's there. Whoever, there's so many leaders up in that area. You would sit there and say, hey, and maybe just connected a quick text. I'm going to introduce you to my friend Ashley. She is, she's going to be there, and I'm not going to be there because it's 6 hours away. This is just me talking. I know, Kristen, you had asked, because you won't make it, but you might know people. And so feel free to connect them to whoever's going to be in the room as, a friend or maybe a warm body. And y'all, again, these are so friendly. And these are so, everybody is welcoming, everybody is excited, and so it's not intimidating, and it's not going to be as big, it's not going to be as big as the Houston and Dallas, but I will tell you, I think every Oklahoma event has been at least about 100 people or so in the room, 75 to 100 people. So it's no, it's not chump change, because I mean, it's a powerful room too. And you don't want to miss out on that. Let's open up.
Hey, Lacey, can I say something too about
Yes,
the
Heidi.
meetings?
Yeah.
So, I did my first meetings this weekend. My mom and I went to Beaver County, which out in the Panhandle, and we had two. We had one out in the boonies between Beaver and Laverne, and almost everybody there was already patching. There was a couple couples that weren't, but I'm telling you that even though they were already patching, it was so informative for them. And we got some of them out of pain that had not been out of pain. And I'm telling you, Beaver County has lit up already this week. Mary and Brad have hit manager. So, and then the one in town were all new people that were just waiting to get money. But I'm just saying, even if your people are already patching, go. It doesn't matter, because
Yes.
it was huge for me. It was huge for Mary and Brad. Like, people that, well, and one lady had a headache and she was almost not to come because of her head. Well, we got her out of pain. Her husband has Parkinson's and can't wait to get started on the patches. So just because they're patching does not mean you can't go to a room full of patching people, because it will light their fire. I mean, it was crazy.
Thank you so much for saying that, because here's the thing, that's also where relationships are forged and built. That's where community takes place. That I want to be in a room so I can hug your neck. I can't hug you through this screen, and I'm a hugger. If personal touch isn't your thing, sorry, you're still going to get hugged by me. But because it matters, you guys. It really matters, and it's not for it. Like, you want to feel the community. You want to feel like you belong. Because you do. And you matter. All right. So I love that you highlighted that point. Even if the whole room was just patching people, take it as a training opportunity. Take it as ways to teach people how to put on IceWave. And I guess that's what you guys did. And I love that, because some people struggle with that. So I like that you highlighted that as well. Chastity.
Another thing is whenever you guys go, if you can load your car up, like me and Tori didn't get to ride together, but we stopped and got a motel. we stayed up till like 2:30 in the morning just visiting and picking each other's brains. What do we need to do? What do we need to do here? What do we need to do there? Oh yeah, we're going on tour. Let's do this. It just, I mean, it explodes your business.
As you say, it's the afterthought.
It absolutely does. And again, it's the relationship aspect that, whenever you start forming these relationships of like-minded vision for yourself and for your future and your family, there's nothing more powerful. And here's why. There's a lot of really crappy naysayers that do not speak life into your vision. They do not support you. They do not believe that this patch can do anything. So it's important that you surround yourself with people that do believe, with people that are invested in, sharing this with others, that have a passion for patching. But it matters, you guys. And so even, I'm just going to say, Kristen and Lois, I'm so freaking proud of the two of you for just showing up by yourself. You didn't have anybody in the car with you, but you took the time to get in the room. And I promise you, you left with something more than you arrived, and you left with bigger vision, with bigger purpose, with an ignited passion to get out there and get yourself in the game. So
one thing I wanted to touch on is if you go to the event or go to an event and you're not fully into the business or you're a guest, you're still going to walk away with that positive energy that might help that person get through their week with everything else. That might help that person expand their mind. That might help them to dream a little bit more, or to say, I can just get through this month or this time that I'm going through. So it's really, really important. And I just looked, there's an event this Friday in Arizona, McDaniels are doing in Chandler.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow there's one in Canada, and then Friday in Canada and Saturday in Canada.
Yeah, so it's all over. Yeah. That's in corporate's doing that. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, the corporate ones are in your back office under the events tab, and those are the ones you have to register for.
Yeah.
And
did you want me to touch on what happened in the 72 hours that I was intentional?
I would love for you to share that, Luke.
Well, Tori was like, you got 5 more hours. And I was like, I'm trying to get my goal. I set a goal for myself. And I signed up probably 2 more people, 3 more maybe in that time. And I could have just checked out and turned my phone off, because for 72 hours, I went for it. I followed up with I reached out to probably like 40, 50 people, only 20 got back to me. I tried to get on the phone with as many as possible. And in 72 hours, I ended up with 7 advanced packs, 1 premium, and 3 core, which ended up helping 17 people get started in those families. And so 20 points towards the 20,000 incentive. And also it was just intentionality that, will I remember that it was hard during that time a week from now? No. I was pushing that, but will it pay off a week from now, a month from now? Yes. Those people are going to have results, and they're going to start sharing, and there's going to be a ripple effect because of it.
I want to say something really quick, because almost like I was getting daily, hourly updates from Luke, right? Because he's working and I'm working, and he's like, are you available? Nope, I've got calls, because we were like running and gunning, right? But here's the thing. Luke would call me and he's like, oh my gosh, that call. I mean, he's sitting there connecting, having real connections with people that he doesn't even know, some of these people, and crying.
Never met them.
Never met these people, but
never talked to them.
And it's such a divine, you guys, there is nothing more powerful whenever you have a message of hope to share with somebody else, and they are open and ready to receive it, and you know what your heart's intention is. I mean, the emotional and that you guys, this is what can be exhausting in the best way though. You know how whenever you go through this emotional high or this you're really invested in and you know compassion and you're you know if you're an empath, your heart is just like beating outside of your chest, right? I'm one of those. I know Luke is the same. I know Ashley's the same. And so you end up like feeling like you just ran a marathon because your emotional roller coaster is going like this, right? You're in tears and then you're laughing and then you're breathing, you know, and so that's where that you know, your dopamine gets impacted and all those emotions that you feel. But Luke, I'm just going to kind of call you out real quick because can you get all of that? You're very distracting right now. See?
Squirrel.
Stop. He, so I've told Luke,
Jason, get it together.
you need to, you know, when are you going to let your audience know what you're doing? And it's taken a while for him. You know, he wasn't quite sure if he wanted to take it public because he does have conversations behind the scenes. But I'm like, you have an entire audience that do not know what you're doing, and I say that because I have people that I would have never contacted on my social media because we're not close friends like that, but because I'm very public and open, I have conversations all the time with people that I do not know. That's the power and the beauty of social media. And if you're just getting started on social media, you've got to understand the power of being persistent and consistent. It can't all go towards the patch, but you know, consistently dropping stories, consistently doing live, you know, showing there's got to be a balance.
There has to be.
But your audience has to know what you're excited about. You know, it created so many conversations with Luke when he finally took it to his audience, and people that are going to have life-changing impact. And, you know, Luke said, I feel so bad that I didn't share sooner. That is where you get to when you feel like you have an obligation to humanity and like you're racing the clock because you know somebody's life could be depending on it. What if I didn't share? Oh my gosh. What if I had decided not to share in June?
Yeah, until you went to the doctor. Yeah, that's what I keep telling people.
What if I had not taken it to my social media? What if Ashley had not seen it to take this and go share it with Lacey Dale to put on Crossland? Crossland was given 2 weeks. What if I had not taken that moment to boldly go public with something that I had zero intention of sharing, you guys? Zero intention. That's why nobody knew. I was patching in April. Nobody knew it until mid-June. All right.
Yeah.
If I had not taken it there, Crossland might not even be here today. And so when I say you've got to know the mantle of which we are happily putting on, especially if you have a heart for humanity, it's like I'm racing the clock to see how many people I can expose this technology to because somebody's life might depend on it. And
Yeah,
that's the way that I want to treat this business. Go ahead.
probably most of them, if not all of them, I wouldn't have reached out to. And a lot of them I've never talked to. I don't know how they even followed me or what. Like, I have no idea. So the conversations, there was definitely tears on at least 3 of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, that you build one friend. I'm just happy that I made her as a friend. I wish I would have knew her 9 months ago. And, you know, her best friend is struggling supposedly with 2 weeks left. And had I shared, you know, sooner, you never know.
Yeah. You know, I don't ever like to live in the realm of coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? I don't ever want to live there, but we're at a point where we cannot unsee what we've seen and we cannot unhear what we've heard. So in my opinion, it is the most selfish thing that we could do, which is to keep it to ourselves. because there's people out there that are desperately needing what we have to offer in every area that LifeWave could fulfill their need. Erica, I know I'm gonna I want you to open up your line because I know we had canceled Tribe Talk last week, and I remember you having a couple of roses that you wanted to share. So do you want to share really quick?
Hey, I do. Why is my name on there? Woo! Hey, go away. Yeah, I reached out to a very, very dear friend of mine. She's in her 70s. Actually, no, she will be 70. Anyhow, she's originally from Iceland and she's just an absolute gem. She got a couple of knee operations. She might be having to go for another one. So she lives in Winnipeg. Actually, she lives in Gimli, Manitoba. And I reached out to her last weekend and she goes, "Oh my goodness gracious, girl, what are you up to now?" Because she always follows me. She doesn't say anything, but she follows me, right? And so I told her a little bit about it. I said, I just kind of gave her a couple of pointers and she goes, "Well," she goes, "my dear," she goes, "I will have a look for you." She goes, "I'm not going to promise anything, but I will have a look for you." She's a very, very busy woman, so I have to get back to her. And then I told this one to Luke. I clean houses, right? So a client of ours that we clean for, it's only once a month. It was last week or the week before I went there, and I said, Elaine, when we first got in the door, she had said, I haven't been feeling very well. I was just in the hospital. I had a clot in my heart. We've got a couple of clots in my leg. So anyhow, so the other girls that I work with, they went upstairs because like I'm at work. I probably shouldn't be saying anything, but I did. So I said to Elaine, I said, "You know what?" I said, like, "This is really crazy." I said, and I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable or anything, but I told her, I said, "Have you heard about stem cells?" And she goes, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Okay." I said, but do you know what they do or how they work?" So I just gave her, a quick overview, like they're in her body, they go dormant, they fall asleep. She's in her 70s. I said, "Well," I said, "I'm in my 60s." I said, "And they're pretty much dead." So, the words just came out and it felt comfortable and I wasn't afraid or scared. It just flowed. And I said, "Can I get your phone number?" I said, "I'd love to send you, like a quick video, whatever." I've tried to get back to her, so I don't know if she's ghosted me or not. But I just felt really, really good about it. And I thought it gave me a little bit more confidence to be able to talk to more people now. So, yeah, so I've been trying to reach out. I got some is, "Oh, well, maybe." So, it's whatever, but I'm not going to stop because like you say, you never know what can happen and whose life you can touch and help and
Yep.
yeah,
So,
all the stuff.
I'm so proud of you. And you know what? I think there's something to this conversation. Like when you say it just felt so natural. You know why this feels natural, you guys, is because your heart posture is different. You're not coming to them, or at least I've never felt this way. And I'm pretty certain that I feel like you guys feel this way, is that I'm not desperate for the sale. The conversation is all geared towards helping them and providing a solution. So whenever you're not, I mean, it just eliminates that icky feeling because you truly have something, you have your hands on something that you are confident in sharing and that has the ability to change their life. Now, you've got to eliminate the expectation of they say yes or no. When you eliminate that, but you're just going to share, then your heart, I mean, it is, your heart posture is completely different. Whenever you say, "I don't know if they ghosted me or whatever," y'all, again, I will reiterate because I think it's so important for y'all to never give up. My newest brand partner that enrolled today is April 1st. The first contact that we made, that we started our conversation about LifeWave, was July 5th of last year. July 5th. And it has been follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, And finally, I'm ready to get started. July to April. That's what you guys have got to, some people throw in the towel. You quit too soon. That's the mistake that people make, is you quit too soon because not everybody hopped on board whenever you first shared it, or you zip your lip. And I'm gonna share one more example today. I had a new brand partner plug into the event on Friday in Houston. Immediately, she connected me with 4 or 5 messages the day after. Okay, you guys, I responded to the first message, and then no more conversation. I'm never going to inundate messages. I don't want to be overbearing, so just know that it's always going to be comfortable. I wanted to follow up with the ladies Zoom today because all of them were women. I haven't messaged in there since Saturday. I messaged in today that letting them know, hey, there's a ladies Zoom if you guys have time to hop on. One of them messaged back and all she said was stop. And I was like, okay. And then my brand partner is like, I think you're messaging too much. Y'all, why do I bring this up? This is the mindset of a lot of people, is I don't want to bother somebody, right? I'm like, it's okay. I promise you, this is only the second touch. And again, if we can't have an expectation of the outcome. We just have to be, a good steward of the information that we want to share. And so I can promise you her mindset of, I think you're messaging too much. That was only the second touch point that I have made. I guarantee you there's people that think after one touch point and they don't get a response, they think, oh, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to reach out. I'm just going to wait. Y'all, that's not the way it works.
Yeah,
No,
I touched the people probably a few times because of that sale that was going, or the bonus that was going on. But now I'm just kind of letting them be. But some of them come back to me today and yesterday. I'm so sorry, I haven't got to listen to them. Blah 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 blah. It's like, and they're lined up. They're just off doing their own thing. I'm telling you, I'm busy. When people text me, it's like, oh my gosh. When I wake up in the morning, I'm like, so just know people got a lot going on, they're not just worried about us.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, people's lives are full, they're busy, and sometimes I need the reminder or whatever. So don't think that follow-up. Heidi is the follow-up queen. I love that she stays on top of those messages. And see, I don't, she touches very gently. Hey, have you had an opportunity? And they respond or they don't, whatever. But when I say you just can't stop, until they say stop.
Stop.
I will say I am the follow-up queen, and Tori knows that, but I will say I've only had two people, and since I started doing this, like really in October, November, leave the chat. So
it's because good at you're probably gentle with it,
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, I'm pretty.
Yeah.
I'm not with some of my people that are close to me, I went to high school with or something. I could probably be more gentle, but you're not going to ever lose a friend over it. Like a good friend or a true friend, they're not going to be mad at you because you're trying to share something with them to help them.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
Well, and I think we live in such a world that it's so easily to get offended, right? And I try to live my life offense free because that's the bait of Satan, just so you know. But here's the thing, like we can all take it personally. Like if they didn't message back, if they didn't respond, we're like taking it personal. Today, I have a brand partner that left the group chat. I messaged in, I'm like, hey mama, is everything okay? She goes, "Oh, yeah, everything's great. I'm just super busy with work. I've got deadlines to meet, and it's really distracting right now. I'll get plugged back in as soon as I meet these deadlines." See, but like I could have easily just like gotten my panties in a wad because somebody left a chat. Like, y'all, this isn't the end all be all of everybody's life. Like, most people have an entire life that they're living, and then LifeWave is, coming alongside, and it might be helping them feel better or whatever. But like, just because our mindset is a specific way doesn't mean everybody's is, and we can't impose our mindset. So I just want to encourage you with that too. Like, you can't get offended, and don't take it personal. Here's the truth. It's not personal. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with what their life looks like, how busy, their schedule, whatever. So remove getting your feelings hurt, remove being offended, remove, sitting there playing head games with yourself. Could I have done this better? Could I have done that? But stop, eliminate the negative chitter chatter, and just know your heart posture. You're coming in because you have something that you want to share, that you care enough to make an impact in their life when they're ready. I'm the queen at this because I was the one who ignored my friend for over a year. 15 months. I ignored her. Didn't mean I wasn't annoyed. There's a difference. I was not annoyed with her follow-up. Okay? The timing wasn't there for me. I can't even explain it. I was in my own way. But was I upset that she kept reaching out? No. Was I annoyed that she kept reaching out? No. I never told her to stop. Okay? So just breathe. Use discernment. Don't follow up every single day, because we don't want to do that. But just gently touch them. And I promise you, just like our team motto, they're all coming. All right. And when the timing is right, they're going to say yes. And even if they end up saying no initially, well, you don't want to fight somebody that has a negative mindset initially, right? You don't want to battle that. So just love on them and just keep leading.
Yeah. And I would say the main thing is that I learned this last week is talk to more people.
Yeah.
We have to talk to more people. We need to have a lot in the pipeline, a lot that we've shown this to, and then let the ones come out when they're ready. And
That's
us
right.
just do our job of dripping on them, following up with them, helping them, and you will have a business. You will help a lot of people. People will thank you. They will thank you for following up, like Tori has multiple times. They will thank you when they get on it 6 months later. Like one girl that's had pain for 50 years that thanks me all the time. They're going to thank you.
Okay, so Leanne, is there plastic in the patch? So the adhesive is medical grade adhesive, but here's the thing. If she's highly allergic, she does not have to stick the patch to her skin. She could actually stick it on the inside of a shirt, a bra, or whatever, and the opposite, that back side of the patch could be touching her skin. Or even on the outside, just as long as it's close, it still is going to work. So don't think that, oh, well, sorry that you can't do this. Yes, you can. There's ways around it. You have options. Okay, well, I told y'all give me energy. Anybody have anything that you want to share what?
You gonna go work out now?
I don't know about that, but if you want, do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? Do you have any concerns? If you have,
I do want to shout out Daniel and Faith did very good last week at the event, but man, Faith, you
dropped the hammer.
Yeah.
Faith was unbelievable, but
she completely spoke from her heart, and God spoke through her. And when God was done speaking through her, she was like, "That's all I got."
She was so good. I mean, I was like, man, can I go be a person in the audience and just like listen and take notes? I mean, she was anointed in that.
Yes,
Just because
very.
how powerful her heart is. But here's the thing. I'm also going to give Faith another shout out for a different reason. She reached out and said, Tori, can we have a mentoring call? Emma has done the same thing, you know, because when you want to grow in this business, sometimes it takes working through some mindset, some word choices, some how do I follow up? I can't get people to, you know, duplicate or whatever. And y'all, that is, first of all, you've got to know that it's 100% normal. You're not doing anything wrong, but sometimes the thing that we need to change the most is our perspective or our perception, or we're growing and learning with different word choices and, you know, other things that, you know, some of you guys might not have as much experience. And I love, you know, Faith is not close to me in proximity of the lineage, but the fact that she felt comfortable saying, hey, could you just hop on a call just to have some wisdom poured into her, to have questions answered. You guys, it's important. So when I talk about the community of being in a room together, that's important. But also reaching out, it doesn't have to be me, reaching out to any of these leaders or mentors or your sponsor or mentor for connection, to talk through things. You know, we went through different scenarios and she's like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that. You know, that's a great idea. Y'all, it's powerful. So don't, you know, if you are wanting to grow, I promise you, there's so many people that the leaders are not reaching down and going through, because I'm not poking and prodding anybody to do this business. I've never done it and I will never do it. But people who are hungry are gonna come to the table to get fed. And what that looks like is picking up the call or sending a message and saying, hey, do you have a few minutes that we can connect? You know, I mean, as somebody that is 100% invested in your growth, I need you to be 100% take ownership of what you want your business to be. And if that means having those mentoring calls or some coaching or have questions, then reach out and get that done. You know, Kristen and I had the same thing last week, and we had, you know, and that was just the first conversation that we're going to have of many. So I wanted to give, you know, that's so important. Okay, any other questions before we hop off? It's 9:02. I'm not going to keep you on here any longer.
I was going to comment on the patch, just our personal experience. My daughter and I are both highly allergic to latex and have not had a single reaction to the patch.
Oh,
Awesome.
I love that.
And we do react to the Band-Aid brand.
Okay, great.
Wow.
That's good to know. And I love that reassurance. But again, if
Everybody's
somebody
different.
were, you know, did have any type of reaction, then all you need to do is just turn it on the other side so they don't have that adhesive touching. Okay.
Does anybody have any questions on dates or where to find those for different events? If you can send anybody to those different locations, or if you can make it to any of those.
Yeah. In school, they're posted. I try to post them all in the chats as well. Hopefully we'll see you well, I won't see you. Tanner's first tournament or baseball game is this Saturday, but Oklahoma Saturday, Arizona Friday, Canada all next week, Kansas next week. So there's lots of opportunities to you know, either yourself.
Canada is tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday.
Oh, okay. Well,
And
I
then
thought we had more than that.
Yeah, there's
and then well, they had 2 that already passed, and then Florida. Hollywood and
Orlando,
and then everybody's living rooms.
Everybody.
I'm doing one in,
Thank
I have
you.
a team one in Norman on Saturday. If anybody has somebody in Norman, Sunday at 3:00 in Norman. If
All
anybody
right.
has anybody there, just reach out to me. And I don't even have the address yet, but it's one of my brand partners. But
Perfect.
she already has 7 to 10 people, so the more the merrier. So
Yeah, absolutely, you guys, and I love that. Plug it into other living rooms, y'all. I cannot express enough. It's so, even if it's not your team. Like even if it's sideline, y'all, I did business with everybody. You know, sideline, crossline, you forge relationships. It's important to be in the room. So thank you, Heidi, for bringing that up and letting me edify that as well, because sometimes people, well, that's not my team. I don't want to go. No,
Guys,
If you vibe with, if you know like 2 or 3 people close to you, then say, hey, look, would you want to have a party together? You know, like we could just have a patch party.
yeah.
yeah, Rick and Carrie were not in our organization in our previous business. We weren't even in the same lineage, but we were part of the McDaniel.
We were sidelined and we did
And we
events
did
together
weekly.
all the time. Yeah, weekly events together. And we were not in each other's business.
Luke and I work really closely together, and we're sidelines.
There's and that's, I mean, that's the value, the power of relationships and how much they're valued. Because
He
people
might get tired of me, but that's all right.
Not at all. I wish we lived closer because we'd be packing rooms together.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, we're gonna hop off. I'll see you guys next Tuesday, if not prior. Hey, if you want to set up a live, I would love to do a live. Or you know, I'm available for calls, as is the rest of the leaders. So make sure that you know that you are very well supported. I love you guys. God bless. Have a great week.